And welcome to another edition of 10 Count. We're at Hollywood Smoke in the city of Santa Monica. I'm joined, as always, by Doug Fischer of Ring TV and Dave Smith, radio personality. Doug, you have an intimate knowledge of what Golden Boy is going through right now. The divorce settlement is final. Al Haymon / Richard Schaefer walk away from Oscar De La Hoya's company. It's interesting. They retain a few fighters like Leo Santa Cruz, and their big gun is Canelo, who had nothing to do with this.
Right.
And they get a big fat check from Al Haymon. I've heard different figures. Richard Schaefer is put on timeout.
Right.
So when it's all said and done, did Oscar get what he wanted in this deal?
I don't think so. Not entirely, but they got freedom. Because what the relationship that they had with Al Haymon, particularly since after Schaefer, but even when Schaefer was there, you had a situation where they had to make room on all their cards for Haymon fighters. Yep. And sometimes that was a good thing because sometimes, you know, Haymon had a lot of champions and top fighters and popular fighters. And that was fine. That helped them get TV dates and do TV deals and do big shows in different markets. But there was also the Al Haymon up-and-comers that they were sort of charged of finding a place on their cards and developing, but they weren't able to make decisions in terms of developing the fighters, such as a Gary Russell Jr., where they just had to find a place. They had to put him on TV where Russell was getting shots and Russell was just fighting guys, chumps that everybody knew he was going to blow out. And that was a slot that could have gone to an actual up-and-comer that Golden Boy really promoted, that Golden Boy really had under contract. So they had all these guys who weren't under contract that they didn't have the final say. Haymon had the final say. As I can tell you, just from my experience, even when I was doing like Fight Night Club, where you had a lot, you had up-and-comers, you had prospects, you know, some managed by Frank Espinoza and others, even a few managed by Cameron Duncan, and then you had the Haymon guys. And I remember the matchmakers kind of pleading with the Haymon people, the Haymon operatives, you know, let us put Russell in with somebody tougher. Let us put in, because you know, they're worried about TV time. They're like, if Russell blows this guy out in one round, we got all this time to kill. And saying, hey, look, Russell's talented. He'll win this fight, but this guy is somebody who might go 6 or 7 rounds instead of get blown out in one round. Haymon could veto anything. I mean, so with the Haymon guys gone, they at least can focus on their fighters, their talent, and develop them the way they see fit. You know,
what I found interesting, Dave, is that Golden Boy essentially put 32 fights into Deontay Wilder coming into this weekend before he fought Bermane Stiverne.
And now he's gone.
The minute he wins the heavyweight title, that contract's expired. Yeah. I mean, I don't understand how anyone can justify what was done. And by the way, some of it is Oscar's fault.
Yeah.
He allowed this to happen.
He was asleep at the wheel.
Well, that's a big question I would have. Oscar's been basically an absentee owner of Golden Boy, and Richard Schaefer was running things, and a lot of things were going on Oscar wasn't even aware of because he was out partying and doing things he shouldn't have been doing. Now the question is, does he have the business acumen? He says, I'm going to be there every day, I'm going to roll my sleeves up, I'm going to take care of business.
He has been, by the way.
Does he have the business acumen? Who's going to be the Richard Schaefer that he has to hire here to help him business-wise? Who's going to be the guy that replaces Schaefer?
He's got a guy named Julio Ramirez who is handling a lot of the business operations, and in a move that I think was criticized by a lot of people in the boxing industry, maybe even you and I, Steve, instead of bringing in somebody, like bringing in like a Lou DiBella, or, you know, trying to see if they can't get Carl Moretti to go from Top Rank to Golden Boy to be the COO, you know, the boxing operations guy, he elevated his 2 matchmakers, Eric Gomez and Robert Diaz, to basically handle the boxing operations. And I got to be honest with you, I was a little bit skeptical, but I think so far they've done a good job,
I think they're growing into the role. I think Golden Boy / Oscar made some key moves at the end of last year. Number one, bringing Canelo back over to HBO.
That was big.
What I was told was Canelo always felt being on Showtime, he was always going to play second fiddle to Mr. Mayweather. I think him making the Hopkins-Kovalev fight was a key factor in breaking this Cold War. And speaking of the Cold War, guys, I think reuniting to a certain degree and at least having a business partnership with Top Rank, because they're already talking about fights like Lucas Matisse against Ruslan Provodnikov.
Sign me up for that one.
Sign me up for that one. So I think that he understood where this die was cast on Showtime. It was going to be Mayweather, Haymon. Now, as for Richard Schaefer, I think it's always been a fait accompli. He's going to go to that Haymon-Schaefer side. There's no doubt about that with Mayweather. So I think there's a lot of things going on. But I get the sense in talking to people, Oscar wants to do this over the long haul. But again, we bring up the word sustainability.
Yeah.
And this was a hobby, a car that he crashed into a telephone pole.
Yeah.
Can he be that steady driving force? Because let's face it, Oscar's not going to architecture school.
Right.
That dream is over.
Right. He's going to have to rebuild that sports car, and I don't think it can be the fancy make that it once was. Golden Boy Promotions can't be the 800-pound gorilla.
Yeah.
They got to settle for being a 400-pound gorilla and playing nice with other 400-pound gorillas in the boxing industry. It can't just be Golden Boy Promotions. They're going to have, because they don't have that huge roster that they once had. Not anymore. So, but that's okay. If they've got guys like Canelo Alvarez and David Lemieux, who they just
Leo
signed.
Santa Cruz, Lucas Matisse.
Yeah, but how long are those Haymon guys going to stay there? I
question.
think once Santa Cruz and Matisse and Khan, once their contracts are out, I think they're going to rejoin the Haymon army.
The prospects. Frankie Gomez, Antonio Roscoe,
They can focus on those guys. They can focus on their young talent 100%, move them as quickly as they want, and they can make the tough matchups that Oscar wants. Oscar wants to deliver the kind of fights that fans salivate over, and that'll be good for his organization, but he can't just do it in-house. He's going to have to work with main events. He's going to have to work with Top Rank. He's going to have to work with everybody, and he seems like he's willing to do that. And if he is, I think they'll survive. And I think that they will thrive if the right fights are made.
Okay, well, that's it for this edition of 10 Count. On behalf of Dave Smith and Doug Fischer, this is Steve Kim saying till the next round, goodbye, everybody.